On behalf of Pam Mayo and her family and all the Mayo family, I'd like to thank you for coming today to support the family, pay your respects, reflect and remember the life of Brian Mayo, better known as Blackie. A husband, a dad, a father figure, a grandpa, a friend, and a bloody good old bugger. On Tuesday, 21st of May, at 1:45, Dad had a massive heart attack at home, and his weary body finally gave up, and he left us. Dad's favourite place was up here on the hill, and he requested his ashes be scattered up here, and we'll do that at some later date. No one could say finesse was his strong point. If he'd been an artist, it wouldn't have been with a fine brush, but buckets of paint and an airplane propeller. But nobody worked harder than my father. When guys were carrying one of anything, he was carrying 6. He was loud and not too subtle. He always had a story or a bad joke to tell. And you've all been pained with those over the years, but he always had a smile on his face. He wasn't after perfection, he preferred results. 25 plus years ago, when Dad lived up here on Mangakawa Hill in Shorty Taylor's cottage, he began this incredible journey of planting around Cambridge as he sprayed, chopped, trimmed and planted tirelessly around the reserve and then often down into Cambridge after that. If you come up here late in August and early September when the daffodils are out, you can stand by the old sanitarium which is over there and witness an incredible display of colour and beauty and thoughtfulness. You can see with the grandkids and the kids have thrown a few of Blackie's stuff around, singlets, his talking parrot which drove us nuts, a rifle fishing rod, the hat he always wore, and one similar, and the cage that he tried to catch minor birds outside his lounge window for about 10 years. He had a string out the window to this cage with bread in it. He never caught one in all his life. So we thought we'd bring that up as well, and a pair of gumboots which I think were his number ones, and a large jar of pickled onions.
Blackie did it his way, didn't he? I've got this Appleton's Tree Nursery brochure in my hand, because if Blackie ever got hold of one of these, about 2 or 3 weeks later there'd be 300 Mexican oaks or North American oaks turn up at our nursery. So, you know, that was always a worry. He was a great purchaser of plants, but even better, when him and Pam went for a drive most Sundays, as they did around the Waikato, he was a gatherer. He was an absolute, you know, there would be Pseudopanics fossicked, there would be kawa gathered, there would be little ferns dug out of culverts on the side of the road, and when we appeared on Tuesday at the Tree Trust, there'd be 3 or 4 buckets full of little plants for us to pot up. The ferns you see on the back of the truck, he get it. They were about that big. Look at them now, and we're going to plant those beside the flow form. He had a real love of Lake Takutu, and his way of doing things at Lake Takutu was probably different from everyone else's, but it was his way, and he was going to do it, come hell or high water. And so, you know, some interesting arguments took place with all sorts of people. He had vision. If the phone went in the morning at 7, I always knew it was Blackie. I picked the phone up and think, what now? Last night he said I was awake, and I'm thinking, I'd come up with an idea, he said, and away he'd go. And so that would float for 3 or 4 weeks, and we'd sort of discuss it, and sometimes it landed and germinated, and it happened. A lot of the time we were fighting rearguard action because it was a crazy idea, but it was always about the environment, and it was always about plants and trees and improving the look of Cambridge. He was a foundation member of the Tree Trust, and we will surely miss the morning teas where he would always tell a joke, badly sometimes, hilariously at others. He would have us in fits, You know, it was just a very, very special sort of guy. He'll be sorely missed by us. There's a huge hole he's left in our lives. I see a big team from the corrections department. I hear, and we thank them for coming. I cannot believe his commitment to the corrections department teams. He would do 5, if not 6 days a week with those people. And boy, Cambridge is a better place because of it. His tracks are something we should treasure. There are at least 21k of tracks around the riverbank in Cambridge. And if Osh ever caught him with his infamous or famous corrugated iron chutes, firing concrete posts and pieces of footpath from underneath the high bridge down onto the riverbank track that he happened to be building with the correction department teams, they would have died 1,000 deaths because it was exciting, it was hilarious, and it was flaming dangerous. But you know, the tracks he built are still there. They get covered with water every, 2 or 3 times every year with floods, but they're still there and they're well built. But they weren't built by an engineer. They were built by a practical guy who applied his knowledge about how to do things. And boy, did he leave a mark. Lastly, sorry about the emotion, but that's the sort of guy I am. Last year, we achieved a target of 110,000 trees and plants. Blackie, being in charge of the Tree Trust, was responsible for directing most of those operations. He was so green-fingered, such a great organiser, and what's he left behind? It's huge. We will not, some of us in the Tree Trust will not thoroughly enjoy what work Blackie has done, but give us another 30 years, some of the deciduous trees and the coloured trees will just be absolutely magnificent. It was not any ordinary tree he bought when he got hold of one of these. It was something special that wasn't growing in Cambridge. So there's a lot of special trees out there, and they've got Blackie's mark on them. We thank him for that.
Thanks, Doc. When you sit down under the shade of a great tree one day with your grandchildren or great-grandchildren, chances are it just might be a tree that an old bugger called Blackie planted. And my phone's ringing, I hope it's not dead.
The water is wide, I cannot get home, and I the